All right, let's talk about what is, without a doubt, the single most critical skill any pilot can master: energy management. We're going to build a whole new way of thinking today, one that goes way beyond the basics you hear in training and completely changes how you see your airplane. You know, if you're just starting out, you've definitely heard the classic line, pitch for airspeed, power for altitude. And okay, it's a starting point, but it's also dangerously simple. The truth is, the relationship is way more dynamic, and really getting it is what separates a good pilot from a great one.
And trust me, this isn't just theory for a written exam. Getting your plane's energy state wrong is a direct line to the scariest things in aviation. We're talking loss of control, controlled flight into terrain, that's flying a perfectly good airplane into the ground, and accidents during approach and landing. Mastering energy isn't just about being smooth, it's about staying alive.
So, let's shift gears. I want you to stop thinking of your plane as just a machine. From now on, I want you to see it as an open energy system. It's simple, really. You're constantly putting energy in with the engine's thrust, and energy is constantly leaking out because of drag. Your number one job as pilot in command is to manage that balance.
The total energy your plane has at any given second is made up of two things. You've got potential energy, which is just a fancy way of saying you have energy stored up because you're high off the ground. Think of it as altitude energy. Then you have kinetic energy, which is the energy of motion. We'll call that airspeed energy. That's it. Altitude and airspeed are your two energy bank accounts.
And here it is. This is the aha moment. We're going to use a really simple analogy that just makes this whole thing click. This is the picture you should have in your head every single time you touch the controls from here on out.
I want you to imagine that all your energy is like water, held in two big connected tanks. One of those tanks holds your altitude, and the other one holds your airspeed. And the key is, they're connected.
Okay, look at this diagram. This is your new mental instrument panel. On the left, that's your altitude reservoir. On the right, your airspeed reservoir. See that pipe connecting them? And the other pipes for energy coming in and going out? That's the whole system you're managing every second you're in the air. So let's just make this crystal clear. The water level in that tank on the left, that's your potential energy, your altitude. The water level in the tank on the right is your kinetic energy, your airspeed. The total amount of water you have in both tanks combined, well, that's your airplane's total mechanical energy.
So, if those are our energy tanks, what are the controls? How do we actually interact with this system? Well, this is where we need to completely redefine what the throttle and the elevator actually do.
Think of the throttle as your master valve. It controls how much energy, how much water, is flowing into the whole system. You push the throttle in, you're pouring more water into both tanks. The elevator, though, that's the distribution valve. It doesn't add a single drop of new energy. All it does is trade it between the two tanks. You pull back on the yoke, and you're literally pouring energy out of your airspeed tank and over into your altitude tank.
Let's walk through a few examples here. Say you want to climb but keep your airspeed the same. Well, you need more total energy in the system, right? So you add thrust with the throttle, the master valve. Then you use the elevator to direct that new energy into your altitude tank. But now check out that last example, a climb while slowing down. Here, your thrust just equals your drag, so no new energy is coming in. You are simply using the elevator to cash in your airspeed for altitude, pouring water straight from the airspeed tank into the altitude tank.
Okay, now let's apply all this to one of the most critical parts of flying, especially when you're on approach to land, the power curve. This is where truly understanding energy management will, and I mean this literally, save your life.
This U-shaped curve shows you something simple: how much power you need to stay in level flight at any given airspeed. You see the very bottom of that U? That's your sweet spot. That's the speed where it takes the least amount of power to stay level. Where you are on this curve changes absolutely everything about how the plane flies.
The whole right side of this curve, that's what we call the front side. This is where you do most of your flying: cruise, normal climbs, you name it. It feels right. It's intuitive. If you want to go faster, you add power. If you want to slow down, you pull the power back. Simple. The airplane is stable and happy here.
But the left side of that curve, that's the backside. And this is a low-speed, high-drag world where all the rules you thought you knew get flipped upside down. As you get slower over here, you have to keep increasing your angle of attack, which creates a ton of drag. This means, get this, to fly slower, you actually need more power. It feels completely wrong, and that's what makes it so incredibly dangerous. So here's the situation you have to avoid. You're on final approach, you're on the backside of the curve, and you notice you're getting a little slow. Your gut instinct is to pull back on the yoke, right? But if you do that here, you're just creating enormous amounts of drag. Without jamming the throttle forward, that drag is going to cause energy to just pour out of your system. You'll get an insane sink rate you weren't expecting, or even a stall, and you'll be too low to the ground to do anything about it.
So after all this, what's the one thing you absolutely have to burn into your brain? How do we replace that old broken mantra with something that's actually true, something that will keep you safe?
Here it is. This is your new golden rule. Pitch plus power controls energy state. It's not one or the other. It is the coordinated, beautiful dance of using both controls together. The throttle is for setting your total energy level, and the pitch, using the elevator, is for deciding how you want to distribute that energy, as altitude or as airspeed.
Flying is nothing more than a constant series of energy decisions. Every single climb, every descent, every turn is a choice you're making about how to manage your two reservoirs. So on your next flight, don't just fly the airplane, fly your energy state.